Hey, if you're anything like me, you've got big ambitions, big goals, you know exactly what you need to do to get there, but when you sit down to actually do it, procrastination comes along and murders you. Well, in this video, I just wanted to share something with you that I've been applying over the last couple of months, and it's probably the only thing that I've been able to actually apply and stick to really easily. Basically, over the last year or so, I went on a reading rampage and was just trying to learn as much as possible. In all of these books, well, not all of the books, but in a lot of books, they talk about a certain thing. And they talk about it in one way or other, but it all comes down to really the same thing. It's called the do something principle. And basically it's super easy to apply and super easy to do in your life. And yeah, it's had a massive impact. I'm no guru, I'm no productivity expert. This is just something that I have taken and applied, and it's worked super well for me. And by the way, I'm Jacob. I'm a 6-figure profit agency owner, and I'm trying to push that to 7 figures profit by the end of 2025. And now I'm sharing basically what I'm doing along the way, all the business experiments that I'm doing, the successes and the failures. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, follow along. But yeah, I'm going to dive into the video now. Here's the deal. Most people think that motivation equals action. So you need to be motivated in order to do something. You know, I've watched a motivational video to get hyped to do the work, or I'm not going to do it today, I don't feel too good, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow when I'm motivated to do it. When in actual fact, it's the other way around. Action equals motivation. So small actions, small steps actually get you motivated to do more. All right, let me paint you a picture. You said to yourself that you're going to get in shape, so you're going to run 3 times a week. It's week 2, and it's raining outside, the weather's horrible. It's like this, you know, just disgusting outside. It's warm on the sofa, you're not motivated, you're gonna do it tomorrow. But then, you know, we all know how that ends. Tomorrow, the day after, and so on. The trick is baby steps, really small tasks. Just say to yourself, I'm gonna go for a 2-minute run, a 3-minute run. Might seem pointless, but just getting out there does so much for you. Starting that action leads to the motivation. So by going out for just the 2 minutes, while you're out there, it's probably, okay, I'm out here, I've done 2 minutes, I might as well do a few more. And then that is how the action rolls into the motivation to continue. Here's another thing I've learned. I call it moving but messy. And basically, not everything you do or not everything you work on is gonna be perfect. And I realized this while I was listening to a podcast with Ed Sheeran. And in the podcast, he basically says that in his songwriting process, he forces himself to sit down and write songs, multiple songs per day. And as he's writing them, sometimes he doesn't like them, sometimes they're trash. But at the end of the day or the end of the week, all of those bad songs that he wrote, he will have produced 1 or 2 good ones, and they're the ones that make it onto the album. Now, I'm not a songwriter or a musician, but I could see how this applies to everything, because when I sit down to start something, let's just say, you know, it's designing a website for a client, for example, I usually hate it to start with. You know, it's early, I'm not motivated to do it, and I just think this is trash, and then I leave it and I come back another point when I feel like I'm gonna be motivated to do it. But it never works out that way. Basically, all I'm saying here is that you just push through it. You pick a small task, so you break something down. So in this example, instead of designing the whole website, I'm gonna design the header. You just jump in, I'm gonna do this small task. Whilst you're doing that task, you then build the motivation to continue. Okay, I've done the header, I'm gonna do, you know, section 1, section 2, blah, blah, blah. But you probably don't feel as though, oh, this is amazing, this is the best work I've ever done in my life, because rarely will you actually ever feel like that. But movement, and messy movement, is better than no movement. I always find that as you continue going through, even if you don't think it's your best work, when you've finished it, you can look at it with the eyes of, okay, I don't like this, but at least you'll be able to see this is what I don't like and I'm gonna change that. At least you've got something to work with rather than nothing if you were to just put that off until tomorrow. Basically, perfection isn't the goal, movement is. Because as long as you're moving, you're doing something, and you can't adjust or improve something that doesn't exist. When I've got free time and I'm just out and about and my mind is clear, I can see everything. I can see the path to all of my goals super clearly. And in those moments, I can just write down that to-do list. I need to do this to get that and this to get that, right? But when I actually sit down to do those tasks, that's when it gets hard. That's when the block comes in, and that's when I will do anything but the tasks that I'm supposed to do. Now, over my reading rampage, I found out that basically anybody who's productive is using this kind of method. So they're using the do something principle. And one last thing to end on, the thought of it is always worse than it actually is. Well, other than like pulling out your own eyes or something crazy. But usually the thought of doing a task is way worse than actually doing it. And this is something I've known for ages, but only just like put into perspective now. When I was a teenager, I was at school and I was working shifts at the weekend in a supermarket, and I always wanted extra money, but I never wanted to do the shift. But it was more just the thought of it. The overtime was available, but the hardest part was putting my name down on the sheet. But once I did that and once I turned up and was actually doing the work, it was fine. It's the exact same thing now. When I have especially a hard task, when I have a hard task to do, the thought of it is always way worse than actually doing it. And that's where the baby steps help, and that's where the actually getting movement helps as well. But without any more of this, you can put this into practice right now. Go and do something, do the smallest task possible, get the ball rolling, get off on YouTube and subscribe.